Colossians Chapter 1, Through the Bible, Part 8. And you, that were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now hath he reconciled. Colossians 1 verse 21. God did not wait until we promised to scrub our faces, put on our Sunday clothes, and go to Sunday school before he agreed to do this work of reconciliation. It was while you and I were in rebellion against him, while we were doing wicked works, that he reconciled us to himself. No man can say, I'm lost because God has not made adequate provision for me. A man is lost because he wants to be lost, because he is in rebellion against God. That were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind. This reminds us that there is a mental alienation from God as well as a moral alienation. A great many people think that men are lost because they have committed some terrible sin. The reason people are lost is that their minds are alienated from God. I think this explains the fierce antagonism toward God on the part of the so-called intellectuals of our day. There is an open hatred and hostility toward God. Some time ago, I had the funeral of a certain movie star out here in California. The Hollywood crowd came to the funeral. One of the television newscasters commented on the funeral, and I appreciated what he had to say about it. He said, "Today Hollywood heard something that it had never heard before, but I also saw something there at that funeral that I had never seen before. I had never seen so much hatred in the eyes of men and women as I saw when I attempted to present Jesus Christ and to explain how wonderful he is and how he wants to save people. There is an alienation in the mind and heart of man, in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight." Colossians 1 verse 22. The body of his flesh. Here is an explicit declaration that Christ suffered, not just in appearance, but he suffered in a real body. This directly countered one of the heresies of Gnosticism in Paul's day. To present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight. Unblameable means without blemish. That was the requirement of the sacrificial animal in the Old Testament. You and I cannot present perfection to God, and God cannot accept anything short of perfection. That is the reason we cannot be saved by our works or by our character. We simply cannot meet the demands of a righteous God. But he is able to present us unblameable. Why? Because he took our place. For he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 21. Unreprovable means unaccusable or unchargeable. God is the one who justified us. If God declares us to be justified, who can bring any kind of a charge against us? He is the one who has cleared us of all guilt. If ye continue in the faith grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I Paul am made a minister. Colossians 1 verse 23. This is not a conditional clause that is based on the future. The if that Paul uses here is the if of argument. It does not mean that something shall be if something else is true. Rather, it means that something was if something else is true. We would say, since ye continue in the faith grounded and settled. Paul's point is that we have been reconciled. It is an accomplished fact. So if you are a child of God today, you will continue in the faith grounded and settled. You will not be moved away from the hope of the gospel which you have heard, whereof I Paul am made a minister. Paul loved to look back and rest in his glorious privilege of being a minister of Jesus Christ. I consider that the greatest honor that can come to any person. I thank God every day for the privilege that he has given me of declaring his word. There is nothing quite like that.